Hello guys, Tech Imp here. Today is Sunday, probably the first time you're gonna hear my voice once in a blue moon. The reason why I'm doing this video is because of the current market, crazy actually, market situation for the used parts like in Ireland. Considering that Ireland is a small island with what, around 4.5 million people. So it's easier to kind of like scam people, to rip them off, to ask for abnormal prices, etc., etc. Now the reason why I'm doing this video is I want to show you a few examples like of which one you should be kind of like very careful of. Some of the deals like you might find interesting, some of them you could actually negotiate, but there are certain kind of like deals that you will not be able to pull out. Not because of because sometimes sellers are not kind of like they're stuck with the price and they don't want to change their mind, but because sellers are trying to compare their prices like with the new items on the market, for example like graphic cards, processors, motherboards, etc., etc. And that's not the fair pricing. If you decide to kind of buy something and you want to sell it within few months or years or whatever it is, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot ask for the price that you pay for it. You have to negotiate. You have to kind of go a little bit down, like not a little bit. It depends on the age of the part, how it's used, how it's maintained, etc. Now, the first one I'm gonna show you like is probably a bit out of ordinary one, and the guy's asking almost 2,000, right? So those 2,000 euro like is, in my opinion, is a bit too much. No matter like what parts he has inside, no matter like whatever is there. Start with the motherboard. Motherboard is just the average at best. Pairing with that processor, it's like putting, I don't know, Ferrari engine in a Fiat 500. Uh, Cooler is alright, but even cooler like on that motherboard with that processor, I doubt it like that processor can actually hold 5 gigahertz on that motherboard, because that motherboard has a weak VRMs. 32 gigabytes of the Vengeance White, not bad. I would say like they would be around, take it or leave it, like on the Amazon around 130 euro new, if. Now the graphic card is the interesting one, and I'll tell you why. Because it is RTX 2070. It is 8 gigabyte OC edition or whatever MSI was thinking to do it there. But there is a part like that card, sorry, and that cooler on top of it is never gonna work. Ventus is known since 10th series, I think so. It's very known like that it's not cooling graphic card properly, so I would never buy Ventus card. Like that's just a big no go with the cards. Storage 500 Samsung Evo 850, 4 terabyte hard drive. Okay, that's storage one. Which 4 terabyte for the enterprise class, like which is a red one. It would cost you around second hand. It would cost you around 50 euro. As for the SSD, you will be talking around, knowing sellers here, on your used market, like you will be talking around, let's say around 70, 80 euro. Um, it's not bad. Like I mean, you can always go with the cheaper option. Like, but question is like, do you want SSD? Do you want SanDisk? Sorry, do you want Samsung? Do you want a SanDisk? Do you want other brands? Now optical drive none, because the case does not support it. Windows 10 Pro power supply, RM850i. It's a good power supply, far from it. It's over 100 euro. But all in all, like this combination, like this price that was added to it, like it's not worth it. The next one is, I actually found this one on the Facebook Market, and it's something that it's never gonna click with me, right? Uh, like I really don't know where to start with it. First case is around, I think it's like 30 euro on Amazon, right? Processor, I actually don't know, like, can you even do anything with it? With that graphic card, 300 power supply, not ultra budget motherboard, but I don't know, like it's like 40 euro used, new. I really can't figure it out. And 16 gigabyte of DDR4, right? He didn't write the brand, he didn't write the speed. Usually kind of like sellers, like if they want to get rid of the parts, like they're trying to put the lowest speed, which is 2133. It's not worth it. This PC is not worth 650, plain and simple. If the guy gets 200 for it, like he should be happy, he should take it with both hands, just move on from there, and that's it. The next one is, what does it say? It's free, right? Not free, but he added the price on top, 750. Can run games at high FPS. PF for price if interested, even if it's on the top. i5 84 6 core, not bad. Prime Z390M Plus. I think if not mistaken, that's kind of like a budget board. 1660 Super. All right. 16 gigabyte of RAM, which again he didn't state which RAM. It could be just a basic generic one, green one. That's why the side panel is actually, and if I'm not mistaken, that's some MSI case or maybe even OEM. 500 gigabyte SSD extras, gaming, keyboard and mouse, right? So in this case, like, again, the PC is not worth 750, and I will tell you why, right? First, motherboard. Second, one hard drive, one SSD. Third, we don't know what RAM is it. Fourth, what power supply. So you don't know, like, if you can actually expand it in the future or just keep it as it is. So 750 is too high. Another one here, the seller is asking 1250, and again, I think this might be too much for its price. First, it's i7 6700 4 cores 8 threads. Corsair Hydro H100, not bad, but there's a problem here, like, because the processor and the motherboard are clashing with each other. They're actually not clashing, they're the same socket, Skylake first gen 1151. But this i7 is not overclockable, which means like it's 67 non-K. The K stands for the overclock, right? So he placed that processor on the overclocking board, then cooling it with 240, 280 AIO, which basically, like, any air cooler would actually just cool it down. Any air cooler up to 120 TDP. RAM is classic LPX Vengeance 266. It's okay. SSD storage bit lower, but it's okay. Second SSD 120 for unknown reasons. Western Digital 1 terabyte. Okay, storage is a bit low. Graphic card EVGA RTX 2070 XC. Alright, so XC cards, like, what you call it, like, from the EVGA, they came out like in 2018. Those cards, like, were dual slot cards, dual fan, not bad cards, considering, like, what has been sold these days, from 1660, 1650 RX 5300, I think, from the AMD that was released yesterday. So what else is there? Case, fans. If I'm not mistaken, this is Aerocool case, which is alright. I mean, for airflow, like, it's alright. The front mesh is bad. Had one before, like, and passed on to it. The power supply is non-modular CX600. So CX600, like, is actually a green sticker on it. It's alright. Power supply, not the best, but it's alright. And we have a wireless network adapter, which is 300 megabits per second. Now, is it worth 1200? No. The i7-6700 could be found for €100. The AIO can be found for 60. Motherboard can be found for 80. Memory is around €60. Now, all SSDs and hard drives that he had over there, like that shouldn't be more like than I wouldn't give it more like than €70. Graphic card. This is a tricky one. The problem with the graphic cards nowadays, like, is they have there's a 3070 coming out within few days. So people are trying to offload their cards like as soon as possible from 2080, 2060, 2070. So in this kind of case, like, looking at the price of the 2070, it would be tricky. Like in personal opinion, I would not pay more, let's say 450, even if you go on the online retails, like you would be finding them like new one for 480, 490. Case 20, 30 euro, like power supply 40, tops 50, and wireless like is like what, 20 euro, if so. 1250 for this bill is too much. Another one here is priced around 300 euro, and the seller didn't give us much information beside what's actually installed on it, right? So he's talking about i5, he's talking about 1 terabyte hard drive, 8 gigabyte of memory, Asus board, which he didn't mention which one, 850 power supply, DVD drive, Wi-Fi, I assume it's a USB, because he didn't attach any other pictures, Asus Turbo GTX 2 gigabyte 128. So if I could assume, right, i5 could be Sandy Bridge, which is like what, 8 years old. 1 terabyte is alright for the storage, even we are living in the 2020, which SSD is a must to have. Memory 8 gigs, it's alright. Motherboard, he didn't mention which one is it. 850 watt for the power supply for this type of build is overkill, because if it's quad core, doubt it he can overclock it, because the base clock is 290, which could be, if it's Sandy Bridge, it could be, what is it, 2300, 2400. If it's socket 1150, it could be 4460, if not mistaken. Now DVD drive is pointless. Graphic card 2 gigabyte. This could be anything. This could be 750 Ti is not part of it. So something ultra low, like something that it's irrelevant. Gaming on that card, you would be very limited. So I wouldn't be kind of like bothered. Like if you want to really kind of risk it, like go ahead, but change the graphic card like for at least 256 and different processor. The next one here is 2600. Now this one we're talking about kind of ultra gaming computer, which is like includes bank monitor, esports gaming thing, whatever, with mechanical keyboard, with esports mousepad, mouse. In fairness, that's just adding extra on top of it. You can game on the Dell keyboard if you want it, and in fairness, like, kind of paying extra for the RGB gaming, like it's gonna make any difference, like in games. If you have no skills, it's not gonna bring you any good. What else we have there? CPU tower, Corsair Crystal, right? That case was on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, like last time I saw it, like was around £170. But considering that it's been used, not great, like for the Cooling, it's alright, it's like average at the best. Graphic card, RTX 2080 Super. Now the Aorus 2080 Ti, from the known information, like they tend to have issue with the thermal paste and overheating, which means like that every few months you would have to open the card, clean it, and put new, fresh thermal paste. It's a good card. It's very eye-catching, but we'll see what else he has over there. Let's see. The RAM is 16 gigs. LPX again, 3200. Motherboard, Aorus Pro. So I don't know. This is seller sponsored by the Gigabyte and bank, or he just got lucky with it. But yeah, that's about it. Processor 97K, good. Power supply, good. Storage, NVMe, good. 500 gigs is new and around, I think, 80-90 euro. Now the prices are going down, like, so you might be lucky. And Corsair Hydro 100i RGB, not bad, not bad. You're talking about 240 rad, 2 fans RGB. So basically this is RGB setup. 2600 is too much. The next PC that we have here is priced at 770, which I don't think it's a bad price, but there are certain things that he could actually change and alter, like, you know, for the future, like if he wants to either keep the PC or if he wants to flip it, right? But for 770 it's not bad price, right? So roughly priced everything, like he's taking consideration that he actually built it, that there's a Windows on it, etc, etc. So this time we have a Zen Plus CPU 26X, which is, what is it, like 105 watt TDP. We have a good graphic card. Motherboard at best is average, and the reason is like because that board, like, if in the future if you want to change it for the let's say 8 core 16 thread CPU, you will be limited for a few reasons, like because that you won't be limited, like, the board is going to work fine, the processor is going to work fine, but the problem with that board is like the VRMs are bad. So once you kick in like with the 8 core CPU in it, the VRMs are gonna go warmer. It would be kind of recommended like to cool them down, like with additional fan blowing onto it, like, but what's the point then? The reason why, again, like the temperature will decrease the speed of the processor because the thermal throttling of the CPU is going to go down. So let's say the processor is clocked to 4 gigahertz, you may not be able to reach those 4 gigahertz if the VRMs are hot. RAM is alright. Again, LPX, most of the people actually either having them or selling them, or it's kind of like a RAM go-to, 3000 megahertz. Power supply is a no-go. It's a Game Max Bronze 80 plus 550. It's alright, but I wouldn't put it like, and I wouldn't keep it like to have it as a main power supply. I would change that. SSD, we're talking about 256 SSD. Alright, better than hard drive. Hard drive, we have a storage on 1 terabyte, not bad, and we have a RGB mid tower case. Put everything together. He didn't put what cooler, so I assume like it's a stock one. Yeah, I did actually, Ratspire. So it's a stock cooler on top of it. So fair enough, like, you know, decent price. Next, what we have here, like, is selling my gaming computer, working condition, recently gave it good clean. Never had any issues with it, components, etc. Alright, so Windows 10, 6700K. Alright. MSI gaming board, 1050 Ti, 8 gig of RAM, 2 terabyte, 1 SSD. Cooler master CPU. Alright, so 600 euro here, like, as is, well, you probably even see it like now. There's kind of like few things that's actually wrong with it, right? Good processor, even to this day, because it's a 4-core 8-thread K overclocking processor. But he's adding 1050 Ti. Now 1050 Ti, like, it's 4 GB version. Paired with that, something is gonna bottleneck, and in this case, it's gonna be graphic card. MSI gaming board. Again, he didn't mention which one. It could be H, B, Z chipset. 8 GB for 600 euro is way too low, and I wouldn't be bothered like buying something like that for 600. For 400 euro, we would be able to talk about it, but for 600, definitely. Even 400 like might be too high, because the 6700K like nowadays is selling as on the used market. It's decent sellers, like it's around between 120 and 140. 1050 Ti, I've seen people recently selling it for 120, which I don't know where they're coming with that price. Like, is it by the Amazon scan overclockers or whatever it is? But 120 for the 4-year-old car now, especially limited on, let's say, 1440p gaming, or even 1080p, like probably medium or low medium settings would actually kind of like do the job. 2 TB hard drive, the usual storage. Low SSD, which means like all programs and games would have to go on the hard drive. Cooler master CPU cooler. That doesn't say. It could be Hyper 212. It could be AIO. We don't know. 600 too much. Next one. 690 iCustom, new build fully tested, absolutely perfectly. i5, right? So i5, he didn't mention anywhere which i5. 16 GB dual channel DDR4. Again, don't know which DDR4. Don't know which gigabyte board. He mentioned Radeon RX 580. Now, if this is correct, this could be a stock, the black one, 580. 250 SSD. We don't know. We like, in fairness, like, we don't know much details about this setup, and we've been asked for almost 700 euro. 1 TB hard drive storage, gaming GPU, run any game smoothly on high details, maybe 1080p, maybe. i5 could be Skylake. Doubt it. It's a Coffee Lake. Corsair PSU, we don't know which one. RGB case with few options. Honestly, no one cares about RGB keyboard, RGB mouse, RGB cases, beside, I don't know, kids. The newest version operating system. Well, there's only one Windows 10. The latest one is like, what, 2404 or something? Full Microsoft Office. Full game Witcher. Alright, so this system, unless he's giving you a Steam account with the game on it, otherwise I don't think that's original Witcher or any of the Witcher, because he didn't say which one is it. Comes in the box with warranty. Looking for a different, just ask me. Thank you. Well, I'll pass, that's for sure. 1300 460K power supply, 650 semi-modular. Ryzen 1700. Okay. MSI X370 Plus, whatever he makes story of it. 1060 Strix. RAM mismatched. Hard drives, M.2 SSD, and storage, monitor, Wi-Fi, a regular mouse and keyboard. Okay, so that's completely irrelevant. Okay, so case, okay, bling bling. Power supply, it's enough for that CPU, but it's CS model. CPU, that's a first Ryzen, right? So first Ryzen CPUs and first Ryzen motherboards, they weren't really great with the memory support. That's one. Two, the 1700, like, on the used market could be found like for around 130 to 140. This motherboard, like, personally wouldn't pay like for it more than 60 to 70 euro. Graphic card, it's like 2020. 4 years ago 1060 used to be popular. and people are still asking for 200 euro like for that card. That card is not worth 200 euro, period. For 200 euro you can get yourself like either 1070 or newer 1660 Ti or whatever it is. Like, just leave the 1060 out of it. It's old for 4 years now. Of course, if you want to game on the budget, like if I have a chance like to kind of get the card like for 200 euro, I would rather go for the 580 RX 580, which is cheaper. You get 8 gig of RAM, and there isn't much of a difference between those two cards, and you save yourself money if you're really tight on the budget. But 1060, please leave it out of it. RAM, mismatched RAM. So why there's like two types of RAM? There's a Vengeance Red, so that there is some kind of LED on it, with a 3000 megahertz memory, so it's kind of 16, 2 sticks of 8. And then he has Kingston HyperX, 2 sticks of 8, that's rated at 2066. So it's like 2 speeds, 2 sets of RAMs. So that means like the RAM is not working on 3000, it's working probably 2133, because you can't find the same balance between. So, and why you need a 32 gigabyte on 1060 card? Are you streamer? Are you video editing? Why you need a 1700 Ryzen? It's obsolete. Take the Ryzen 5 3600, like it'll be to 1700 like easily. Hard drives, M.2 SSD boot. Okay. SSD, standard SSD, Radeon R3. Alright. And storage 2 terabyte. Monitor, more or less 1080p, probably 60, 75 hertz, like that. Wi-Fi, that's if you want to carry the computer around the house. Regular wireless keyboard mouse. I bet like he have the cable one for it, like, and he picked it up like on some dip or something like that. The next one is 1200. RTX 2060 Super 16 HyperX 2133. Alright. So you have a slow RAM, 16 gigabyte. With Intel that doesn't mean anything. Like, you might be able to overclock a little bit. Let's say 2400 if. Quad core 6600. Okay, quad core, you will be able to pull out the games like on 1080p medium settings without bottlenecking. Cooled with a huge Zalman, pure aluminum 140 fan. Okay. Shocking. Western Digital Black NVMe 500 gigabyte SSD. Alright. That's it. Good RAM, again SSD. The second one 120 for some reason. DVD drive, don't need it. Coming together on Gigabyte Z170. Alright. So you have a K CPU with a Z chipset motherboard, or you can overclock. Pulled by powerful Roswell Hive 850 watt power supply. Good power supply. You have overclocking potential like in the processor, so it's okay. Zalman MS Tower case. It's a bit older case, like it's good for the airflow. If it does the job, does the job. Windows 10 Home USB version. This is some serious no joke gaming ring. Quite engineer video editing. Okay. Etc. kind of software also. It's been getting around 130 to 150. Playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is older. Well over 50 200 FPS on CSGO. You can play CSGO on a potato. You can play on 750 Ti. 660 Ti, 660, you will be getting 100 plus FPS like on CSGO. I've used Adobe Premiere for video editing and Cinema 4D for 3D model animation rendering. Of course, if you game or use heavy software, you don't need anything more for good quality. Yeah, you do, because it's a quad core. For the streaming, for the video editing, you will need faster CPU with more cores, more threads, like for the faster rendering. So instead of sitting like with a quad core half an hour to do 5-minute video, you can do it like within 5 minutes, like half an hour video or something. Now the next one is like we're gonna go for the parts. and this is something that I want to address about. Like here we have an AIO, right? The seller, he didn't mention like, you know, how old is it. He didn't say is there any problems or anything. Like, he just mentioned like, you know, he wants asking price like 60 quid, like, and that's it. So it's a H100 to 40 millimeter radiator. It does the great job. Like, don't hold me for it. It's a bit older. We're talking about 5-6 years old. Usually, kind of, if you have a AIOs, like, it's not written rule, like, but you can actually change it like every 3 years, 4 years. So maybe the time on this AIO is up. So it's not cooling down or anything like that, but it's still kind of decent, like for the older system. So let's say like if you want to heat up, if you want to cool down like 66K or 45 90K, 46 90K, it'll be good, right? Because it's actually coming from that time frame. But for the newer ones, I wouldn't kind of like risk it. Like, it's still good, it's decent AIO. Next one, we have a graphic card here, and this is something that I wanted to talk to you about. Considering that we have, what, few days like left before the 30th gen of NVIDIA cards comes out, there's a flood of second gen, let's say, 20th generation of the NVIDIA cards, which is like 2080, 2070, 2060, etc. And people are kind of like throwing out the random prices. Like, some of them are asking for the price that they pay for it. Some of them are asking for the prices that's, let's say, are reasonable. I've seen recently like a card, I think it was like a 2080 non-TI 8 gig version. It's been sold for 560, which for that card, that price, and compared to the price when it came out, we're talking about around 200, 250. Don't hold me for the model, but around 250. Like, the seller lost on it, but seller was honest with it. Like, in this kind of case, like, the seller plays the card for 600 euro. If he wants to stick with the price, he probably won't be able to sell it like by the time the 30th gen, third gen, whichever you want to call it, like 3070, 3080 comes out, which is like 3-4 days. So if he wants to sell it, I would say like around 550 would be a decent price, especially for this type of card, because it's a triple fan card. It's for the win card, which means like it's already overclock and you can push it for more. Here we have some parts, which is coming from the Sandy Bridge. i7 4 cores, 8 threads. It's possible to overclock it to 4.6, like with the decent cooling. Now this is a fun part, like 16 gigabyte DDR3, 1333 megahertz, right? If you do remember, like usually OEMs are using lower speeds on their RAM. So for example, like if you're gonna go like with the Sandy Bridge, like they were using, like, if I'm not mistaken, 1066 and then 1333. The newer RAMs, they usually kind of like with the standard users like at homes and things like that, they were using like 1600 at least, 16, 18, 21, 24. 24 was actually very rare. Now we have here a 1333, and the last one is MSI. This motherboard, if I have to choose OEM motherboard and this motherboard, I would take OEM. This motherboard is not good. If you overclock it, like you said, to 4.6, like, it's probably gonna catch the fire eventually. And I would avoid MSI altogether. Used up to a recent as I have upgraded. Alright, so what we have here, a Vengeance Pro, 16 gigabyte, 1866. So speeds are okay, but the price isn't. So we're talking about RAM that came out like what, 7-8 years ago, priced at higher price than DDR4, 3200 megahertz, 16 gigabyte. If you check on the Amazon, like I think LPX LPX Vengeance 3000 and 3200, you'll be looking like between 70 and 85 pounds. You can check with it. Now we have this one, like it's kind of like 16 gigabyte, and that's like 2 by, so that's like 4 sticks, 4 gigabyte. Hard to overclock. Next. 67K, good. Maximus, good. 8 gigabyte, 350. So I'll price it quickly. 6700K tops, 120 euro. Motherboard 100 to 120, right? 8 gigabyte of DDR4, 30 euro. 350 is asking price. If you want to destroy your computer with crap power supply, this is the one that you're looking at. This power supply, it says 580 on it, but this power supply is not, I bet, I didn't check it yet, like, but this power supply is not more than 460 watt out of the box, considering that this is older now, and the last time I saw it was in a Maplin, which was closed like 4 years ago. So this power supply definitely does not pull out, let's say if I'm wrong, 450 watts out of the wall. And 35 euro. If you want a bomb in your computer, there you go. 1070 Ti 8 gigabyte, right. Now it's Ti model, it's a bit better than the normal one, 1070, a bit, few FPS if that means anything to you. But the price is funny, 350, right? Now I've seen kind of like, again, because of the 3070, 38 are coming out, I've seen people are throwing out random crazy prices and hoping like that the buyers are gonna catch on it. 350 like for this type of card is too much. 1070 should be under 200. 1070 Ti shouldn't be more than 250. Shouldn't, because again, like it's like a 4-year-old car, and there's like 2070 in between, 2070 Super, 2070 OC, whatever it is. So you have kind of a few models in between. 1070 Ti, like I said, like it shouldn't be more, like even 230, like it would be too much for that car. 350 is the asking price, not worth it. Now again, another price, another 2070. We had one already, like I think so. So like I said, like the seller is asking 520. It's XC model. It's I think he wrote down like it's a 1.5 years old. He probably wants to kind of like, you know, upgrade or sell it or something, like so maybe there's shortage of need of it, like maybe he don't use it anymore or something like that. Basically, like the asking price is 520. Like I said, like the prices for these type of cards, especially nowadays, like shouldn't be, especially this one is not even a super, this price shouldn't be even bigger than, let's say, 450, 460 tops. So like I wouldn't be bothered, like, you know, kind of like going out, because for the same, for I think I said like 480, 490, you can find a new one in the shop with receipt, with kind of like everything. The seller did state like that there's a warranty on it, which means that he registered like with, what is it, EVGA, but it's used card, like, so like if I were you and everything, I wouldn't be asking like for the 520. So 460 is the tops that I would go for. It's still good card, like far from it, like, but that would be my asking price. Next one is, again, what is it, like 7 years old, GTX 780 reference model. The 9th model that came out, like, which was like 970, 980 reference cards, they start kind of like fixing the fan issue, because the previous blower styles, like this one is, the fans were so loud that on the load, like you would have to kind of set up the custom fan curve, like in MSI Afterburner, like, or just kind of like set the one speed like all the time, like, so you don't feel the or hear the noise that's coming out from these cards. It's 90 euro for this card, too much. This card 7 years later, shouldn't be more than 70 euro. This is the fun part. Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. Amazon prices at the moment are £29, which is like around 33 euro. If you buy things on the Amazon like for £20 and over, you're getting free shipment, which means like that the seller here, and I think it's a shop, the seller here is trying to kind of like earn the double, almost double, like to the price that you can buy it actually kind of from the online retailer, like for example Amazon. And 62 euro is definitely too much. 1060. Oh lord, 1060. 3 gigabyte version, Gainward, 120 euro. Hard pass, 70 euro tops. Now this is the card that you definitely should like. This is my opinion about the first the MSI, right? Like I don't mind their cards like on 1070, on 1080, especially this type of kind of like cooling on the top. But these R9, R7s, 290 and 290X, R9 380. They came out faulty from the factory, right? Basically what happened was like that the cooling part, the VRMs and everything, there was a gap in between, which means like after certain period of time, depends how much you're actually gaming or not, the VRMs would actually kind of heat up so much, the cooling would be enough to cool them down, and they would actually melt, the connection would actually move, and you would start experiencing the issues with the card, such as artifacts, dying card. You will see the fans are spinning and things like that, but the only thing you can do, like bin, give it to someone else, put it on the wall, just to have it like, just to have idea of what not to buy. So guys, that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the quick tutorial, if you can call it like that, about what to buy, what not to buy, what to look at it, because I did last year about a post, and I'm gonna link my page on the bottom of description of this video. I did a post about crazy market prices like in Ireland, and the reason for that like is like I said, like there's like a what 4.5 million people like living in Ireland. Like I doubted like that half of it, even third of it, like is actually kind of like IT. Sorry, third of it might know things about the PCs, and the rest of them would be either don't know anything or not too well. So the prices do not reflect the current situation, like, which means like that if you really want to kind of like don't be an ass like and try to kind of rob someone like for the part if it's not necessary. Basically like new parts are coming every year. New parts are coming every year, and the parts are actually kind of like the used market like should kind of go drop a little bit down. Like if you want to buy a Ryzen 3600, right? The used price for the 3600 like should be around 150, let's say. 2070, not more than, like I said, like 460. Um, um, what else we have? Like 16 gigabyte LPX, like let's say even 3000 should be 60 euro. SSDs like with 240, 256, like they're like 20, 25 euro. 2 terabyte of hard drives like are kind of like not obsolete, like, but the people are not using them that often anymore, unless you're really stuck. Now the reason why I'm saying kind of like it's not necessary, like as a storage, like it should be still fine, like, but I mean like the prices of SSDs like are actually going down. There's an offer on the Amazon at the moment like where you can buy like 512 gigs SSD for cheap as like maybe 55 euro. Pair two of them, like you're talking about like maybe 110 euro like for 1 terabyte SSD. I know that in comparing to pricing like between the 2 terabyte hard drive used, let's say, or even new, and what you call it like SSD is a bigger, where you can get like 2 hard drives for price of one SSD. True, but hard drives are only there like for the storage part. Like you're not gonna load things off them. You're not gonna like, so basically like you don't need to have a bigger hard drive if it's just kind of for the basic documents and everything more than 500 gigabytes. Power supply, it all depends on the specs that you have. It depends on the processor, depends on the graphic card. But nowadays, like power supply between 550 and 650 quality power supply, um, like even if it's a used market, like even if you would be looking for between 70 and 90 euro. Anything above that, like you'll be kind of like either looking for the overkill, or you simply don't need. Case as a case, it all again depends on the preference. Like if you like to have a RGB bling bling and things like that, like you can add it up. That's not a problem. But what you call it, like you have most of the people, like there's plenty of RGBs around, like, and so many people are actually switching them off. Keyboards, mouse. I've tried like so many different keyboards, from the Corsair one, from the Logitech ones, from the Dell ones, from the HP ones, from the Microsoft, or whichever it is, whichever came closer to me, right? From mouses, from the. It all depends, like if you're really gonna game on it. Like I can't give you exactly like for at the moment, like Razer like is the one that's kind of like advertised for the gaming, like, but again, if you are good in the game without a good mouse, like that means that you have skills. If you need a mouse to gain a skill, then it's pointless. Same for the RGB. RGB won't give you extra FPS. I know I'm lying, but still. But that's kind of like my point of it. As for the graphic card, if you are really tight on the budget and you can manage like to find, let's say, RX 580 8 gigabyte, um, you could if you're tight on the budget, right? If you can stretch out a bit, like you can go for 2060, you can go for 5600 XT. Um, but if I were you, like now it's not really a good time not to buy the parts, especially new ones, because of what we said. Like the Nvidia is releasing their cards like a few days time. Um, AMD is giving an idea of the CPU like by the end of the year, so we'll know like what to do. Um, as for the Intel side, for the latest 10 gen of the CPUs, I would wait for at least by the end of the year, because it looks like there's so many issues like with those Z490 boards. If you check on the Amazon and look for the buy new and used, you can check like underneath, like how many of them, how many products from certain manufacturer was returned. MSI and Gigabyte are the one who are leading the market. Even if I saw like a few of them like from the Asus. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope I didn't bored you too much. Excuse my English, like, because English is not my first language, but I'm trying hard. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye.